Hey, everybody. It's Mark Nair. Yeah, I need to say who I am. Thank you. And welcome to our first live stream for the campaign. And I want to tell you why we're doing this. First, we're a little late because plugs are hard and getting everything connected is sometimes tricky. You can see I'm holding my microphone right here in front of me. But the idea that we're doing this for the campaign is pretty serious. We don't let people tell their stories enough. And one of the reasons that I want to do this is our entire campaign, the entire district is pretty huge. And it's a time for people to get their own stories out. Those stories, people can tell about their lives, about what they're finding out in the world, what they're experiencing. We say we want to make a campaign for Congress as people first. So the best way we can do that is actually make this about people. So instead of me standing here or sitting here and yelling at all of you about what I want to do, I think it's important that we get people in the whole area to tell their stories about what they're facing, what they're struggling with, and what's really meaningful to them. So on that note, today, I'm proud to sit with Caroline Stout, who is right here.
Hello.
Hello. We have one microphone because cables.
This one's not on.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll use
Okay. I'll project. I'll be sure to project.
I cannot project. So I think, though, we can do it. So I've known Caroline for a little bit of time. She's a great history. We're very close.
We're both trying to fit in the frame. I think
That's right. So I'm at Caroline's house right now. One of the things that I want to do also on the campaign, we are going to go and talk to people. So it's just not like a Zoom call where you have someone online. We might do that, but really it's about going to places. And like I said, we have 40,000 square miles to cover. It's a lot of people with a lot of stories. So tonight I'm at Caroline's house. We have a little fire behind us. A little fire. Can't really see it. So, hey.
hello. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me in my
It's a great
my
house.
Abode.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of dogs running around.
Yes. We have the dogs running around. You might hopefully not hear them, but there is a chance. There's a chance.
We were spending some time with my brother and his girlfriend. They had a dog in a hotel room all night long.
Whenever, sometimes at night, Bo, our big golden doodle, will get up and walk around, and Brian says that he's marching around Jericho.
Yes.
He's just marching around Jericho.
The clip, clip, clip.
Exactly.
So everybody, one of the things we're trying to do with this live stream too is raise money for the campaign. I know candidates say this all the time. There's a big reason for it. We have to cover a lot of ground. Like I said, 40,000 square miles. It's a lot of driving. For me to drive where I live to Denton, Texas, takes about 6.5 hours, give or take, depending on who's watching me drive. So, speed traps.
We've never sped.
No. Well, actually, I can't because I'm obsessed about energy use. So
there you go.
I'm like a 90-year-old man. Well, okay, I'm close to that anyway. 99.
Closer than me.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Nice. So anyway, we're doing this to raise money. Instead of spending our time doing the normal thing, I want to do it this way. And if it's $10 or $20, that will help us. Gas is expensive, especially when we blow through a lot of it. But anyway, so that's one of the points we're doing tonight too. And all these live streams we're doing in the future. What's going on? What's your story, sister?
Man, well, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be on the left side of the aisle, but I was not always on the left side of things. I'm one of the people who has since come around. I used to be a capital R registered Republican, used to be very involved in conservative and Republican politics. And then in 2016, when Donald Trump started coming to power, I started to kind of take a look around and felt a little like uneasy. I felt like the Republican Party was not really representing the conservative ideals that I'd known for most of my time growing up. So since about 2016, I've been really deconstructing and leaving that conservative and Republican world for more progressive values that line up more with the Democratic Party, which is how I'm here.
So would you say 2016 was a pivotal year for you, and the Trump coming to office wasn't reflective of what you'd grown up learning? What do you mean by that?
So I grew up in a traditional Baptist evangelical household where there was really a lot of value placed on involvement in conservative politics. I grew up at a megachurch. Say what you will about it, but there definitely was a strong evangelical tie to the Republican Party, especially from starting out there. And so it really was a natural thing for me to step into being involved in Republican politics. So like I block walked for candidates at the age of 4. Like I was like 4 years old. Like I was super involved in politics. Like growing up, we watched Fox News. Like it was just the way things was. So it was just a natural thing.
At 4 years old, did you know what you were doing?
I knew that I was putting a door hanger on a doorknob.
And at 4 years old, I was building rocket ships out of cardboard. I distinctly remember this.
I don't know if I was quite that advanced, but I could put a door hanger on a doorknob and walk from house to house.
Let's say they weren't real rocket ships.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, because it's hard to go into orbit in cardboard.
I guess, yeah. You would know better than me.
Well, I have seen a SpaceX rocket blow up, so maybe.
Might as well be cardboard. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But I was involved in politics growing up. In high school, I got involved with Greg Abbott's campaign for governor and then some other campaigns. And then it was in 2014 that I first met Charlie Kirk. And we know, most of us now know who he is. But a lot of people didn't back then. He was 21 years old. He was on Fox News because he had started Turning Point USA. And I got plugged in with them, got invited to go to DC with them when I was a senior in high school. So it was a pretty instant level of involvement and an instant level of community, which I think is the key there, that I was a young person trying to figure out who I was. And so I just stepped into this role of playing Republican and playing political activist because this group handed me a sense of belonging in exchange for touting and accepting their political beliefs.
You know, it's hard to fight culture. I've come to the conclusion since our kids have grown that, you try to raise your kids the best way, but then they get into the culture and they find their sense of belonging into that. Mm-hmm. And I think your story is a good example of you find yourself into a clique of people, mm-hmm. True believers.
Absolutely.
So, and I don't dispute that. I think people really need passion in their lives and know what they want to do. And I think Turning Point did that for a lot of young people.
It was a very different organization too, back in 2014, 2015, because this was pre-Trump. This was the pre-Trump conservative movement that, like you said, true believers in small government, true believers in limited government. And that was something that I found easy to kind of get behind because I didn't really understand the nuance of what a lot of those policies actually mean and actually implicate within the real world. But they believed in limited government and fiscal responsibility. That's it. And so now we know Turning Point as being super involved in social issues, super involved in like the culture wars, and pushing a lot of Christian nationalist ideals, white nationalism. But back then, even Charlie was a never Trumper back in the rise of Trump. So it was a very, very different organization. And I don't say that to absolve myself of involvement, but I say that to point out just how much the right has drastically changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think this is a phenomenon that is so compelling in our national story, mm-hmm. because the idea of what a limited government is and what a state has and what the federalism is in general we've warped it. And we could take a look at Minneapolis as a good example of this. But real quick, let me tell maybe our one person viewing, two. It's our first stream, so maybe we have three. If you want to add a comment or ask a question, please feel free. And then it'll pop up on the screen. If it's something not like how much cardboard does it take to go to outer space, not that, but something that is pretty good and will pop up for us so we could try to answer it the best we can. I'm sure that Caroline has a lot of things that she would like to answer for you.
Yes, absolutely. I was just going to say, if you bring me my phone, I can share this on my socials as well, this link, so that we can get some of my crew in here too.
So Minneapolis to me is a really good example of where the right has gone kind of nuts on many, many things. But let's talk philosophically about states' rights. And for the longest time, we had a lot of people say states' rights, with the Constitution, everything, we can talk at length about this, but the idea that the states have autonomy, and this is enumerated, well, it is an enumerated power of the federal government. The Constitution gives a list of powers, but the powers to the states are basically the states you run your show.
Right.
The only powers that the feds have are enumerated in the Constitution.
Right.
Okay, so that's our baseline. I don't understand why so many people on the right are not up just so angry about what's happening in Minneapolis, because we have taken an army, basically, which is ICE, invaded a place in the United States for a political purpose, because really, come on, we've murdered American citizens with some masked thugs and goons just walking around doing whatever they want, beating up people. And the people on the right should be saying, this is exactly contrary to what I've always said about states' rights.
You would think so. Like, I remember back, and I compare the current state of things to my involvement in that 2016 era, just because that's what I'm familiar with. But I think it's a stark difference, because even back then, there was so much of a talk against big government, against Obama overreaching the federal powers. And now, like exactly as you said, people on the right have abandoned those principles in favor of the politics and the policies. And the question that I keep asking, and that I think would help me to have a discussion with anybody, is do the ends justify the means? Because for a lot of people on the right, the ends now justify the means of trampling on the Constitution, particularly the First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, 10th Amendments. The ends of illegals out, or promoting whiteness generally, those ends justify the means of things that the right for a really long time has purported to hold to.
Yeah, it's just, I think we're starting to see some people come to the realization, hold on, this isn't what I built my life on, these ideas, which I think are very valid topics of discussion about what is the role of the federal government. And I find myself running as a Democrat for a seat in Congress, but I wholeheartedly agree that the state should have autonomy and the federal government has enumerated powers, because the founders specifically made this the case so that we would not have a king and a royal system in place that goes crazy. But what we're seeing right now is a system going crazy.
Exactly. Like, even just for an example, as we know, there are those enumerated powers that are to the federal government, everything else left to the states. That includes policing powers. Policing powers has not been enumerated to the federal government. Right. So when you have federal agents with ICE and CBP and other federal agents in the streets of Minneapolis, directing traffic, doing crowd control, that in and of itself is going beyond what the federal government is supposed to do without permission from those states, because that specifically is contemplated in the 10th Amendment.
Right. So a lot of my attitude on these things is, and I've said from the beginning, we need to defund ICE. ICE has become an out of control private militia for the president to do what he wants. It's very, very hard for any of us to see what's going on with ICE brutalizing people. And I know we can talk about murdering citizens, but it's really the brutality. People getting kicked and beaten again and again and again. And tear gas just shot into crowds. And these are peaceful demonstrators.
Right. You looking at what happened on Saturday with the murder of Alex Preddy. You had these ICE agent, CBP agent goons come and rough up a woman, spraying pepper spray in her face, and Alex Preddy stepping in to get between her and these men who are laying their hands on a woman. Like that is what is happening in the streets. And I can't even imagine what's happening in these ICE detention facilities where there are no camera phones, where there is no accountability, and where there is no congressional oversight. And I think we're getting messages from over there to also point out that there are stickers available for $10.
This is our commercial break.
I guess this is our commercial break.
Yeah,
we're getting waved.
Can you see this?
To look at the stickers.
Okay, that's
On Air with Mark and Air.
This sticker made by Brian
To give us some levity in this heavy topic about ICE brutality on our streets.
So there's a lot into this, and Congress is not doing its job. The Democrats have no power right now.
Mm-hmm.
They can do more than they're doing. They frustrate me, but the Republicans could easily stop this. They could stop it today, and they won't. And they just go again and again and again. And it seems like that the pressure now is building because of Alex's murder. But the frustrating thing to me is it takes a murder to do this, and a murder of a heroic man. I mean, he was an ICU nurse. There's story after story about how noble this guy was. But what if it wasn't a noble guy? What if it was just some regular dude on the street who maybe had a couple of parking tickets? What would our conversation be with today?
Right. What if he was a American citizen that was a criminal? We don't need to get into that utilitarian debate of what value do they add to the society. Does that determine whether or not ICE should brutalize them or not? Period. Rights are rights, period. American citizens have rights, period. People in America that are not citizens have rights, period. It doesn't matter what kind of utility you add. And I know that Republicans will often make that argument. They'll point to like some moral justification based on the utility of whoever or another.
But silly, because what is the utility to a child of a parent who's not there anymore? I mean, that's immeasurable. Mm-hmm. So you can't go down this path with any kind of moral validity. But where our ethics and morals fall apart right now is with the Republicans. They are not doing what they need to do. Now they're starting to speak up timidly, tepidly, starting, but the action can happen tomorrow. As a matter of fact, we can change the whole course of this by having 23 Republicans do the right thing.
You're asking a lot.
Well, I know. I mean, okay, so we have 23 people, 25, 23, whatever the number is, it's small, in a country of hundreds of millions of people. And it's this minority of people who can say enough. And we haven't even broached the economic damage, the damage to democracy, the damage to the world that we are doing. I mean, the idea of pulling back our influence around the planet, you just focus on this hemisphere, is completely ludicrous. And we can talk at length about the damage that China sees us doing and the advantage that China is taking. But these are economic arguments. I really like to talk about those. But the important thing is about you tonight. And like I said, it's about your story.
Don't know about that, but I'm flattered. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm in your house. You're going to kick me out if I don't. So you made me a coffee.
No, I did. Yes.
So but it really gets to the mindset around cruelty, the mindset around vindictiveness, and the mindset around just basic terror. I mean, we have talked at length about in the public consciousness about, is this a dictatorship? Is this authoritarianism? It's tyranny. It's tyranny, plain and simple. And if you go back to the founding documents, if you go back to the papers that the founders wrote, you can see that this was a response basically to tyranny. It was an economic response, but what they faced is what we are facing today.
Mm-hmm.
And we have rules in place, and we have processes in place, and we have institutions in place to stop this. We just have weak people who are not willing to do it. So that said, let's go back to you. You face this epiphany.
Yes.
And you decide to do something about it.
Right. I mean, to say epiphany implies that it was a moment of turning around and changing my worldview, but the reality is that it took years. It took years to undo ways of thinking and political values that had been instilled in me, that are still instilled in me, but I don't think that the current administration and current Republican Party reflects those values. And then there were other things that I gave up when I left that ideology and tried to figure out what I actually believed for myself, rather than just listening to what Fox News said or taking talking points from Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA and just regurgitating them because it gave me a place to belong. And it took a long time. 2016 really was the waking up of me realizing that, wait a second, is Fox News totally telling me the objective, unbiased truth about what's going on? Realizing, no, it's not. Understanding that media companies have a vested interest in outrage, in a vested interest in generating clicks and content. Learning that, and this was when I was about 20. It was real. That was when I left, when I started to kind of look into other ideas. And there was also one other moment that this was an epiphany. An epiphany I had. I was driving in College Station, went to A&M, whoop.
You know what? It's funny. We didn't know this. I didn't know this about Caroline, but I went to A&M, Texas A&M. My undergrad and grad degrees from there. And one day we're just kind of talking, and she says, "Oh yeah, I went to A&M." And usually people go to A&M. It's like an aura, a change in the force. You know, someone went to A&M. Mm-hmm. There's something different. I didn't pick it up.
I was a bad Aggie. I was a 2%er. I was not. I sat down at the football games that I went to.
What?
Often left early. Yeah,
I wasn't. Can't sit, man.
I know, exactly. Yeah, public humiliation. Well, I was driving around College Station, and this was, I think, my junior year of college. I was studying political science, and I had the actual thought in my brain that maybe Democrats aren't evil. Which in retrospect is so silly, because obviously, we're just human beings who are trying to do the next right and next best thing for other people.
Yes.
But I really, really thought that, because I ate up the Fox News and all of that said that Democrats hate America. Democrats want to see the downfall of families in America. And I was like, yes, they want to take our guns, and Hillary Clinton's coming after me personally. And when I had the thought of maybe Democrats actually have a heart and are trying to do what's best for the working people and best for the actual people, not the corporations. That was a huge awakening for me, because, and we all know this, the right just vilifies people on the left, and they try so hard to dehumanize and other anyone who disagrees with them.
Yeah, it's the same strategy we're seeing now with immigrants.
Exactly.
It's historically, it's been the same strategy. You go all the way back through time. Mm-hmm. It's always the other. Find the other so you can make your clique. That's right. So
it's just classic tribalism. You need an enemy. So if there really isn't an enemy, you'll create one.
The funny thing about this is you mentioned, family, you want to destroy the family values. So I've been married for 32 years and we have 3 kids. It's been
That's just y'all have been married for 32 years. That's amazing.
But when I see people in elected office, we could poke on the president for this because I don't think he understands what that means, marriage and a family.
No.
But even our local representation, it doesn't really exist.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I'm evidence of that in my life, but yet they take the evidence in their rhetoric and they say, look, anti, but it is not true. And I've always thought the best way we can do things is demonstrate, to do the real work. And here's the value. Here's what I'm accomplishing. And the mistake I've made in the past was you have to really promote that. So people, when I was on the city council in Amarillo, I did many, many things that I thought were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I helped quite a few people, but I didn't go and broadcast it. I just tried to help. People don't know because they're too busy. So when they watch Fox News or something, the propaganda that comes in, they're not willing intentionally to embrace it, but they just do because
they're conditioned.
They're busy.
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't have time to read The Economist and understand that the various systems that are in place. They just don't have the time. And unfortunately, the people that do have the time take advantage of them.
Absolutely.
So, well, one part of your story I found really interesting was you lived in a house in Washington, D.C.
Okay, so I interned with Turning Point USA. This is the summer of 2016. So we are leading up to the election to end all, no, not to end all elections. We're not going to say that. The election that we'll never forget when Donald Trump was elected for the very first time. And so I was working at Turning Point at their headquarters, which at the time was outside of Chicago. And so I lived in a house with a bunch of Turning Point people. Like it was, we called it like the real world. It was called the Liberty House. In retrospect, like that's so goofy. Like that's so goofy, but called it the Liberty House.
I just have these visions of what this place is, but anyway.
I mean, you might be not far off. Like it was pretty, it was 6 of us gals on bunk beds down like in the basement, and then three other staffers upstairs. And it was college living. It really felt, it was like your classic, just college living, kind of roughing it. And it was really interesting because during that summer, the entire political ecosystem and media sphere in the right wing changed so much because this was Trump time. This was Trump's rise to power. He got the nomination. This was when Brexit was happening simultaneously. And I was literally at the Turning Point headquarters offices when the news about Harambe broke. So I was at like ground zero for all the madness, and it was just a really, really wild time. And so after that summer, I worked full time for Turning Point remotely because I was in college. I was 20 years old, and I was doing some of their media, and I ran their online like news website that aspired to be like the BuzzFeed of the right. And so we would put out these like listicles and put out like outrageous headlines about
listicle. It's called a listicle.
Okay, yes, a listicle. Let me take you back to 2016, 2017.
Okay.
This is like if you go on BuzzFeed, click a BuzzFeed article before BuzzFeed was, I'm not going to say anything about BuzzFeed, but and it would be like the top 10 hairstyles to rock this summer, or like 7 ways to trick your teacher into thinking you're a rock. I don't know what that is.
I think this was when I was still building cardboard spaceships. So it probably wasn't.
That probably is much more productive than anything that I was doing. But a lot of the content that we put out were trying to put out pop culture content because we're trying to create that pipeline of pop culture to political buy-in. That was the design. And this was a very primitive model of it. Now you have these right-wing influencers that are that pipeline.
Yeah.
So this was the 10 years ago precursor to that Turning Point has since developed into a major media machine. But then we were working out of just a little office building, and then we had another little studio type stuff, and we put out videos, put out this content, and then also we would put out these articles that were like liberal Democrat professor bans Christian new stuff from the classroom or things like that, or like liberal academia strikes again, like those kind of headlines that grandmas will share that are like, I can't believe that Texas A&M is this bastion of liberal values. And it's like, really?
But now we see the effect of that.
Exactly. And that has been 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
10 years in the making. And I worked there when they made the professor watch list, when they started that, which is a very insidious and frightening project of Turning Point, where they have this professor watch list where super liberal professors could be put on this list of people that were anti-American values and stuff, like basic McCarthyism. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's so crazy in retrospect.
And so I'm sure you've heard, and I don't know if other people have heard, but at our alma mater, a professor was banned from teaching Plato. So this is crazy. Plato, of course, we know he invented the squishy dough that people use.
Of course, yes. I've made them into hamburgers.
That's just not even a real joke.
No, well, as soon as you said Plato, in my head, I knew that you meant the philosopher, but in my heart, I wanted you to mean the child's toy.
The problem, child's toy.
No, adult.
The problem with live streams
is the live stream of thought.
That's right. Yes, stream of consciousness. So turn the mic more toward Mark.
You don't.
Okay. Caroline doesn't need the volume, but I do.
Yeah, I can yell.
There's a reason I need the volume. By the way, I had some surgery, some stuff. We can get to it later if people are curious. But tonight's about you still. So
no.
I'm interested in that house because I had this whole Stepford Wives kind of thing going on in my head where you all lined up in the early morning and clipped the hedges, all in a row. And like that, just has this vision.
Say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, that's right.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
So, okay, but later what happened? Mm-hmm. You posted a thing on TikTok.
Yes. So fast forward, I go I'm a teacher for a couple years. COVID happens. I go to law school, finish law school, move here to Amarillo, start practicing law. And then the second Trump administration starts. And I had done a lot of my unlearning from the right, but I still felt almost like I was haunted by the role that I played in Turning Point. Not that I was a key player by any means. I was not one of the inner circle people. I was a little groundling. So, but I still played a part, I still contributed to that rise of right-wing hysteria. And that never sat well with me, even as I started to get more involved in progressive values and working with Democratic candidates. So I decided to make a TikTok, and I never I think I had posted a TikTok maybe once or twice before, but they were stupid and I deleted them because I was embarrassed. But I decided to post my first TikTok where I talked about, hey, I used to work for Turning Point USA and I've undone that. And I've learned from my red regret, and I have stepped into being involved on the right side of history.
So you know what? I think we have a clip.
We do. Yeah, okay.
So let's see.
Let's watch me in another room of my house. Hi, I'm Caroline, and I used to work for Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. I grew up in rural conservative bubble
in the suburbs of Houston. My family was conservative, so I just grew up surrounded by conservative politics. And as a privileged white woman in the conservative bubble, I was never forced to confront politics and really think for myself about what I believed in. So when I was 17 and I met Charlie Kirk and he talked about limited government and fiscal responsibility, it just made sense for me. And so from there, I ended up working for Turning Point full time for part of it during the first Trump election. And a lot of what I did was writing articles specifically designed to scare people and garner traffic and really just ratchet up the intensity of the political moment. And at the time, I thought that I was saving America. I really thought that this was the end-all be-all, and that if we did not fight for these conservative values, America was going to fall apart, and Hillary Clinton was going to ruin the world, and the deep state, I wasn't even a term at the time, but basically like the liberal, like media liberal elite is going to take over the world. And I genuinely believed that.
That's kind of incredible. I think it's very brave to do that.
Thank you.
I think you had something like 5 billion people watch that.
That would be cool if 5 billion people did watch. So I initially posted on TikTok and it really popped off right away, which was really, really encouraging because it clearly resonated with people. But I had also never been like on a platform like that before. And so at this point on TikTok, it's at like 4.5 million views, same on Instagram. And the message from most of the people who have commented and shared it is the same, that number one, there are people who are changing their mind. Like after I posted this video, I had numerous ex-Turning Point staffers reach out to me and say that they since have become progressive and left the right. I had a lot of people message me that were formerly Republican that now have left the Republican Party, aren't quite ready to be like, hey, I'm a Democrat, but they've denounced Trumpism. And so that was really, really encouraging. And so the video initially took off, that was July. And then in September, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, it took off again. And it was really interesting because Charlie Kirk he'd been such a controversial figure, but in the wake of his death, I think there was a lot more discourse about the harmful rhetoric that came from the organization.
But my issue on this is we could look at Jimmy Kimmel or other people that were temporarily punished, permanently punished for saying something about Charlie Kirk. But you look at Renee Good, you look at Alex, and right now the administration is calling them domestic terrorists. Why do we have this difference? And well, I know why we have a difference, because they're manipulating and they're lying. These people people in our name have murdered other American citizens. And I shouldn't say American citizens, I should just say people.
Human beings.
But we're in this weird situation where when you mention the stories about Charlie Kirk and how people are coming out on one side or the just virulent defense of him on the other, and using him or using his death as either a tool to make a name for themselves or trying to fill that vacuum, it's disgusting to me. And at the same time, political violence there's no purpose of it. But I know historically that when people get really fed up and they feel like they have no power, they resort to the one thing they can control, which is violence. Violence against their fellow man, violence against their family. And I'm afraid that this will happen more and more unless we take control and get back to the way America used to be. So your story to me is very inspiring. That shows a path of how we can get there, especially people that some of us might have written off as a lost cause. And people have said before, oh, you're in the cult, and they say that offhandedly.
Sure.
But the reality is people find their group, like you found your group.
Right.
And it takes a certain amount of strength to break out of that group.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a certain amount of strength to stand up for what is right. And I think today there's a definitive line between what is right and what is wrong.
Absolutely.
And this is not just a response to murdering people in Minneapolis, but there is right and wrong on money. A lot of this is driven by money.
Mm-hmm.
And we truly are living in the worst, it's so awful the amount of corruption that's going on. And we could talk about crypto. We could talk about AI. We could talk about all that stuff later. Tonight,
we could spend hours on a live stream dissecting the corruption.
I would love to. I like to talk about economics. I like to talk about the lost opportunity and how we are stealing away the future from people who are younger, and they're looking into the future saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'd love to talk about those things, and maybe the course of these live streams we will get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight, really, the compelling story to me is your break from where you were and who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And look at who you are now. You're great. And you're doing really well. Well, you're a lawyer,
I'm not going to speak for all lawyers and say I wouldn't call all lawyers great.
I think, I went to law school for a little bit. Then I had my own epiphany.
Fair. I was going to say, I'm sorry.
That ended in grad school. Then I had my own epiphany after that. So it's just a series of epiphanies. But maybe that's what life is.
I think so. I think it is.
We're on this great adventure. And the best we can do, and it's taken me a while to figure this out and say it honestly and not just like rhetorically. But really, I think the best we can do is do stuff for other people.
Yes.
And you stick by your family, you stick by your friends, and do the best you can.
That's all we can do. And it looks like we have a question.
Oh.
So what's the move with ICE? Reform, abolish? I'm going to pass that to you, Mr. Candidate.
I'll take it. Just as an aside, Brian, who is helping us with the production tonight, was giving us hand signals off screen, and it looked like he was landing a plane. And so I thought maybe it's time to talk about planes.
Talk about the FAA.
But now I'm going to say, here's the plain truth. See?
Perfect.
We defund it. So I've been saying defund for a while. What that means is basically abolish it. We need border control. We need customs control. We need those things. We do. We absolutely do. We live in Texas. I have been down by the border. I've talked with people. They're not in this district. It doesn't matter. They're still people. And they deal with pretty bad people coming across the border. They go through their backyard. It's not good. It doesn't happen all the time. The goal is to stop the bad people from doing bad stuff. I think that's number one. We all agree with that. And it's about justice and the law. ICE is not just, and it's not the law. It's this rogue, weird operation where people are hiding their faces. You can't tell who they are. You don't even know are they the police? So
secret police?
Well, that's the problem. So now people are dressing up as ICE and they're not really affiliated with ICE and they're doing bad things to people. It's just a matter of time when bad people do bad stuff. And we are not getting the bad people. So we abolish it. Now, there are a couple of things in this answer. One, we do have to, when I say abolish, I don't want to say reform because it's too late to reform.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just take an organization that has been so destructive on their name and people look around saying, oh, it's ICE, and instant, almost heart attack and panic. You create something new with the right leadership that is authentic leadership, that's honest and ethical leadership.
So go ahead. Yeah, just to build credibility.
That's right. So that's new, but the new has the job of the old to the point where the law exists. Right now, the ICE job is not what we said. So one, defund it. Now, what I'd like to do is take most of that money and apply that back to the states, to the counties particularly. there are counties here, and I'll talk about Potter County where I live, and they are in desperate need for help. Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, desperate. We need to apply that money to those places that need the help the most. I don't think the federal government can run much of anything, really, but the feds can make the money, and we can distribute that money locally. The best use of money is for local implementation. And I know, Caroline, I know people are saying, how can you sound like a Republican from 1980?
Literally, there was like a little voice in the back of my head that was like, "Hey, you sound like kind of conservative here."
Well, it's an issue of what's rational.
Yes.
What makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And big organizations fall apart a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and the federal government is really big. We need the employees, we need people working, but we need to distribute that to the states who need the help.
Yes.
Who better than local governance knows what to do? So that's how I see it. But the federal government does have a role, which is in border patrol, border security, customs
Mm-hmm.
checking, and prevention of bad things happening. We need to have it. So I'm not splitting the baby here. I'm saying we defund it, we abolish ICE, we create a better thing
Mm-hmm.
that takes care of those roles, we apply the money to it. My fear is right now we don't have the leadership that's capable of any of this stuff.
Sure.
When I say corruption, I mean incompetent leadership that is taking the money and saying, I can be incompetent in my job, but I'm going to cash out. And that's what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the shortish, longish answer to that question.
Yeah, just sound like there's just such a need for accountability. And with those reforms, there needs to be that clear mandate for how things go from here and how people are held
I
accountable.
absolutely cannot stand it that we don't hold people accountable. I should be held accountable to my job. And so voters, people live in the district, and the Texas 13th will hold me accountable. As a matter of fact, one of the ways to do that accountability is this kind of thing right here. So we don't stop because this is a campaign. We keep doing it. The best way to get the message out to people and to answer questions is to do this very thing so people can see me, see us, see who we're talking to, and say, I have a question. Why are you such a bonehead? Okay, I don't know. That's a long answer. But we can answer those questions. I can answer those questions authentically, legitimately, and honestly the best I can. But we have to use tools like this to do it. And right now we have representation that hides, disappears. Congress is out of session for 100 days. We had no town halls. We had nothing. This is beside the point. We can talk about this much more later. Back to you. This is why we're here. I say this is about stories of people.
No, you're the candidate, not me.
Yeah.
I'm just one of your future constituents.
But I get I get angry that we are not fulfilling the promise that the founders set up for us to fulfill. And this is a promise from generation to generation, and it is falling apart. And we really need to build for you, for your husband, for your future family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my job. So how are you feeling these days after you've made your big change? You're now doing lawyer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're filing briefs and saying I object and all that stuff we see on TV.
Yes. Well, it can be discouraging when you look out in the world, but something that I like to talk about, especially when I'm talking to people that have changed their viewpoints and whatnot, is living with integrity. And if your political views do not align with your empathy and do not align with your faith and your spiritual views, if that doesn't line up, you're not a fully integrated person. And so what I've set out to do by speaking out is to help people who do feel that cognitive dissonance of how can I'm a Christian, I go to church, but I see these videos of Trump's administration brutalizing people, and that's not what the Bible says. And I could say, well, are you living fully integrated? Do you have a fully integrated belief system that is consistent across the board? And so that's one of the joys that I have now, is getting to live out my beliefs in a way that doesn't contradict my politics or my faith. It all fits together well. And that's a freedom that I think that more people right now are looking for.
That is such a great answer.
Mhm.
We're going to stop there. All I have on that is to say, well, I'll make a joke. Locutus of Borg was almost integrated in Star Trek, but then Captain Picard came back.
I'm gonna nod like I know what that means.
I need some Star Trek. I need it. So, Caroline, thank you for sitting down with me today. I want to thank. I mean, really, I think your
Thank
story
you.
is it's amazing. It's inspiring. I hope a lot of people can take away from that. Just maybe change their worldview, or at the very least, question some things. We talk a long time in education, and I've taught some classes at college level, economics being some of them, so that's why I get a little nerdy about it. But we talk about lack of critical thinking.
Yeah.
And I teach a technology class to some young kids every morning right now because the ripples we make are important in lives. We don't know what they'll be, but it's important we try to make those ripples. And I see them really trying hard to think critically, but I see them sometimes they slip, and it's easy to slip and just give up. AI is going to be a big factor in this. But like I said, a conversation for another time. But anyway, I find your story inspiring.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you sat down and our very first live stream.
It's an honor.
Well,
It's such an honor. And thank you for what you're doing. It's not easy to put yourself out there, especially in our community that does seem much more red than it really is.
Yeah, so thank you. I think you're right about that. I don't think it's as red as people say. I think we have a great community that people just don't show. We'll see. My job is to convince those people to give me a listen and see if they like it. It's a difficult proposition because it's so big. So,
Yes.
oh yeah, so we're raising money too. I forget.
Yes, yeah. For every $10 donation on Act Blue, you can get one of these nice stickers that's right down there. It says "On Air with Mark Nair."
Yay.
It's real fun because it rhymes and there's a little microphone. So if you get those, it's a $10 for every $10 donation to the campaign, because we gotta get Mark all around this district. We live in a big district.
Yeah,
It's huge.
So just on that note, Saturday I will be in Wichita. This is, I think, how podcasts end. Saturday at the Comedy Store, I'll be in Wichita. No, Saturday I'll be in Wichita Falls at Pancake. It's a big pancake festival.
Day of action.
Day of action.
Yes, on Saturday as well.
It's
So
also a day of action, right? Both in Amarillo, Wichita Falls, and Denton, right? And then so Saturday's that. Saturday night back in Amarillo. I have to give a little talk Saturday night. And then Sunday, I'll be in Denton at a Denton Film Festival. It's very exciting.
how artsy of you.
I love it. I love it because they have a film about the community and part of the community that they're very proud of. People just don't really know the story. I love it.
That's beautiful.
And Denton particularly, I'm starting to see that we are such a diverse area, right? But we're not. Because people still share the same values and they still share the same hope for the future. They just have different attitudes on day-to-day what to do. And in Amarillo, we see the world in this kind of island that we're in. And then Wichita Falls is such a cool place. And then Denton is really kind of hip, and they're trying to retain.
It's really cool. Yeah. Each city in the Panhandle, and then that's not even getting into all the cool small towns, but each city has its own little hip vibe and its own character. It's really cool. And that's from someone who, like, I grew up in Houston, so I never foresaw myself living in the Panhandle of Texas, but it's home. Like it's really become home.
That's right. I mean, we got a lot of snow. Well, a little bit of snow.
A lot for me.
Days, yeah.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'll be going with Brian to Canadian, Texas. We're doing a little tour, talking to some people, going to a coffee shop. Canadian.
It's my kind of day.
It's a great day. As a matter of fact, I ridden my bike to Canadian, my bicycle. That was a brutal bike ride because it gets very hilly. Believe it or not, the Texas Panhandle is very hilly. It's very beautiful. But after you're riding 90 miles, you hit 100, you don't want to deal with hills anymore. So, but it's a cool place. So we'll have a great day there.
That's amazing. And I did want to add that for anyone that's interested in block walking with us on Saturday, meet us at 10 a.m. at the Democratic headquarters here in Amarillo. And that is where we'll meet, get going, have some coffee, probably bundle up. It might be kind of chilly, and then hit the block, walk the block,
Walk the block.
walk the block for Mark.
I mean, it's more than one walk.
Yes, absolutely. We'll walk.
A couple walks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So join us Saturday, 10 a.m. for a day of action in Lester and Wichita Falls, where you'll get to have some pancakes with Mark.
Caroline, thank you for tonight. Thank you
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
This has been a
everybody,
pleasure.
for dialing in. Do they dial in? Well, I'm tuning in.
Nope, they don't dial.
Thank you for this radio show. So, all right, I think we're going to stop there.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Oh, fuzz.